Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The question is, where is heaven located? And how exactly is it that we get there? And today in this sermon, this lecture, I want to go over some common misconceptions in the spiritual realm. And these have to do with hell and the entity that is known as the worm, the snake, the serpent, the devil, Satan. In psychology, it's referred to as the shadow. And the shadow can take on many different various forms. Whether it be just a little bit of a anger issue, some social anxieties, or it can manifest into PTSD and trauma, bipolar, manic depression, paranoid schizophrenia. These are all names given to conditions. And these conditions are given these names because individuals display a certain behavior. And over the course of time, these behaviors continue into what's known as a condition. But what gives that individual that kind of behavior? What makes them behave that way? And up until a certain age, we are essentially products of our environment. And even after that age, we are still products of our environment. The only difference is we have the capability to change our environment. So it's a catch-22 in a good way. So when an individual experiences trauma in their life, and they begin to, they experience this trauma over and over usually before they begin to cling on to this trauma or this behavior that goes along with this trauma. And so for whatever reason, they develop this behavior, which develops into the condition. And so when we later on down the road try to get away from these behaviors, try to get away from this depression, anxiety, PTSD, I'm speaking from experience. I had PTSD. Still do a little bit. I'm dealing with it pretty good though. So what we do is we try to get rid of that. And when we do that, when we try to get rid of that anger and the depression, PTSD and trauma, sometimes we can end up turning our own intelligence inward on itself. And now we have the most sophisticated brain, mind, thought system on planet Earth. And so when you turn that against itself, it's bad news. Counterproductive conditioning is the worm that is spoken of in Mark 9:47. It says, if the eye offend you, pluck it out and cast it away. For it's better that you enter the kingdom of God with one eye than both eyes, and be cast into hell, where the worm dieth not, and the fire is unquenchable. The fire and the worm. The fear of doom and suffering becomes the source of suffering and doom. And it becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of that individual. And speaking from experience, it really does lay claim on your life. PTSD is something that you never really get rid of. It manifests in you, and then it manifests into other things. Right? So how do we get rid of a piece of the self? And how do we be free of this fear? The art of letting go is the art of accepting the inevitable moment. Full immersion in the moment. When we're living this trauma, when we're feeling this anxiety, this manic depression, this paranoid schizophrenia, we're thinking of the future. We're thinking of the past and what the future is going to be like due to what the past conditions were. And so we're formulating and formulating and formulating. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot out of us. And it causes a lot of suffering where it's not needed. And so that full immersion in the moment is the art of letting go, is accepting the inevitable moment, accepting the feelings that we're having, accepting what's going on right now, accepting the wind, accepting nature, accepting the walls around us, accepting the car that surrounds us, wherever we happen to be. Full immersion. I'm talking about, what do you taste? What do you see? What do you feel? Do you feel your clothes touching you? What do you smell? What do you hear? Focus on these. Full immersion in the moment. Because that's the only reality, is the right here and now. To be looking for our happiness, or to be scared something is going to take away our happiness, that is externalizing our power. And when we externalize our power, when we give something else that power, we say that thing has power to make us happy or sad. We don't have that power. That object, that person, that event, that past event, it's not even happening right now. It happened in the past. We give that power over our lives. A lot of individuals do this. I've done it so many times. I still do it to this day. Catch myself externalizing my happiness, my power. All right? But in Luke 17:21, it says, neither shall they say, look here or there, for behold, the kingdom of heaven is within. So even Christ, he knew the deal. He knew what was up. He knew the worm and the unquenchable fire. That's that suffering and doom that we feel. And that heaven is within, because hell is of our own making as well. He understood this. A lot of us me included, and still to this day, feel a void within. It's been something that I've tried to get rid of for a long time. And I've come to the conclusion that it's just best to accept that void within, to accept the moment. Because that void within comes from longing for that next thing, for longing for that feeling to be gone. And then it creates that feeling even more. That feeling that you have, that void within, is a normal feeling. And it does not mean there's anything wrong with you. You don't have to act on that feeling if you don't want to. A lot of this internal anguish going on, this internal battle we have going on, is a result of compulsive fear that comes from a prehistoric fear that used to be beneficial for our situation. That, something's out to get me. Something's out to get me. Something's out to get me. And that way, nothing came creeping up on you through the woods. But nowadays, we got Dingo. And he lets you know. We got so many different things going on in the world. We don't have life and death situations on a daily basis. So we can let go of that compulsive fear as a species overall. It's hard for a lot of people to let go of. What will drive us? What will make us do what we want to do, what is right in the world? What's going to hold us to our duties? So, fear and anxiety and doubt, they can manifest into anger issues, PTSD, trauma, bipolar, manic depression, schizophrenia, paranoia. So then, therefore, if those emotions and feelings can manifest into that hell, does that not mean love and enjoyment and happiness manifest into ecstasy and bliss? Let me tell you something, folks. Through the power of meditation, I'm not trying to preach meditation at all, but through the power of it, you will find that bliss. Miserable folks cause more misery because they make miserable decisions. Remember the story? I had to use the bathroom. The guy wouldn't let me use the bathroom. He became my enemy in that very moment. But instead of doing something to hurt him, I did something to hurt myself. I spent my last money on a ding dong and a soda pop. Because I had to use the bathroom. I needed that key. So miserable folks make miserable decisions. And happy folks, exuberant folks, blissful folks, ecstatic folks, they create heaven right here on earth. They are the sole reason that we have all the luxuries and the amenities. Enjoyment equals happiness. Happiness equals ecstasy. You hold on to ecstasy and happiness for long enough, eventually you're gonna feel that bliss. It comes from enjoying the moment, no matter what the circumstance happens to be. And it slowly builds and manifests into these feelings. Luke 13:19 says, "It is like a tiny mustard seed, which a man took and cast into his garden, and it waxed great. Waxed great meaning it grew big and tall and wide, and the fowls came and nested in the branches. That's the kingdom of heaven. Heaven does not consist of material things. It's not a car. It's not a house. It's not a person. It's not a partner in your life. It's not a divine utopia of untold luxuries and comforts. That's not what heaven is. Heaven is the realm of thought and energy, ideas and innovations brought forth by techniques and practices. A lot of people have accessed this realm by living in the moment, not making miserable decisions, not doing just what it takes to get by, but enjoying life, enjoying the moment, and making more out of it, enhancing their life nonetheless. Without fear, there is no suffering. Without suffering, there is energy. And without counterproductive behavior, there is freedom. Pay attention to the kingdom which has already come. You are loved. You are respected. This universe is always working in your favor. Purge your perspective today and realize that heaven is within and throughout.
What you do that there for there, dingy?